friends, welcome to Journey of a Seeker, Ek Sahaj Yatra. I'm Aparna Ganguly from Kolkata, and today we have with us Mr. Subhopati Sanyal, again from Kolkata. Subhopati ji, आपका बहुत-बहुत स्वागत है इस कार्यक्रम में.
Yes,
and as you can see, a very suggestive title, Journey of a Seeker. हम इस program के through हम जानना चाहेंगे you as a seeker. आपका बचपन, आपके faith, आपके जो आस्थाएं थी, उन सबको पार करके आप किस प्रकार सहज में आए और फिर इवेंचुअली किस प्रकार आप सहज में स्टैंड. Over to you.
Jai Shri Mataji to everyone. Thank you, Aparna, for giving me this opportunity. It's extremely kind of you. Well, my journey, अगर हम journey की बात करें, तो I wouldn't say I was born in an orthodox family, Hindu family. I was born in a Hindu family, but from my childhood, I've seen my mother going to a temple, going to a mosque, going to church, and since my mother spent a lot of time in her own life in Punjab, she used to speak Punjabi very well. So I've seen her even going to gurudwaras. So that is the exposure that I have had since childhood. My father was, even today I don't know exactly whether he is a Nastik, but I've never seen him overwhelmed about God. So that is what it is. So this is basically the atmosphere. Since my childhood, I, for whatever reasons, which now I know it was seeking, I understand, वो खोज था. I was like, I was probably class 4 or 5. I had an opportunity to get in touch with a lot of Maharajas. Now, this is how it happened. I don't exactly remember how, but my 2 or 3 of my dad's friends in office, my father was a government servant, he was an IRS. So, 2 or 3 of his friends were connected to Berur Mount, the Ramakrishna Mission. And naturally, being the son, I used to always get pampered by uncles. So, specifically when I had a lot of questions, what do you do? What happens there? You know, I always heard you saying, "Ami dhyan kori," मैं ध्यान करता हूँ. What is that? How do you do it? I used to keep on asking them. So naturally, they used to pamper me a lot. My communication with them was more frequent. I have one sister. So among the 2 of us siblings, I had the communication. I used to communicate more with them. So from the childhood itself, I was drawn. So naturally, a child is exposed to a certain area. So I started reading the life history of, and they used to give me a lot of books. I was exposed to a lot of books from childhood. They used to give me a lot of books, children books. So I ended up reading the life history of many saints in India by the time I was probably in class 3 or 4. I remember his name was Sri Gauri Maharaj. So I used to call him Gauri Jethu. Jethu is Tau in Bengali, who is elder to your father. So in English we call everybody uncle. So in Bengali we call them Jethu. So I remember Gauri Jethu gave me 3 books. He gave me 4 books. One is The Man and His World. That book was about, and I remember in class 4, I came first. So my mother said, Gauri Jethu used to love me very much. He was the person I used to interact with more. So mother said, he used to live probably just a lane across to our house. He used to live in Anandapalli at that time. So my mother said, go and meet Gauri Jethu. And I think she sent somebody, take him to Gauri Jethu's house. Because I was a kid, class 4. So, go and tell him that your result. So I went and I told Gauri Jethu I've come first. So he was very happy. He embraced me. This is what is expected of you. And I was pampered naturally. So even today I am a fan of Mishti. So I remember he gave me Mishti, Rasgulla. So while sitting there, he opened a trunk. And I used to get excited every time Gurudwaras opened his trunk because that's where all the treasures were. That man was connected to Ramakrishna Mission, but I have seen him exposing himself to a lot of other things. He was a very balanced person I have seen. So he opened his trunk and he took out 4 books, 3 very small books, and one big. It was something like this, square. Obviously, that one caught my eye. And the name of that book was The Man and His World, if I'm correct. It was about the evolution of human beings. So he said, you read this. This is very, very important. And there were 3 small books. Thus Spake. Thus, thus, Spake, thus spake. Thus spake Sri Muhammad Sahib. Thus spake Lord Jesus Christ. Thus spake Krishna. Basically, I was, for the first time, I was studying in a missionary school, Assembly of God Church. तो मुझे पता नहीं था उस वक्त I was exposed to the Bible, the Quran and Bhagavad Gita. I didn't know about it. And Thus Spake, it was a small book. I don't know whether it's available nowadays. It was so fat, it was small. And he said, whatever you do, whenever you get a chance, read any of them. That's what he told me. Read any of them. Now, this is Gori Yetu. The second person I wish to mention is the youngest of the brothers among my fathers, my Choto Kaku. I used to call him Choto Kaku, Kakamoni. He's the youngest of the brothers. So my uncle, so he used to stay in Assam, Sibsagar. He used to come once a year. He was a professor in a college in Shipshagar. So he used to come once a year. So with my brothers and sisters, like the entire family back for holidays for 15 days, 20 days. The second person who influenced me a lot in terms of my reading was Kakamon. So Gori Jetu gave me that book, and before I knew it, when I was reading Thus Spake Jesus Christ, I belong to Assembly of God. It's a Protestant school. So I was more or less exposed to the Bible. I was aware of it. And we had a specific class where Bible was discussed. So not really, it was not something that was really new to me. But the other 2 books, Thus Spake Lord Krishna and Thus Spake Sri Muhammad Sahib. I remember I told Gori Yetu that why did you give me 3 different books? Because I'm finding the same thing in all 3 of them. So he smiled and said, that's why I gave you the 3 books. So after that, naturally, I carried on, and then I'll come to my Kakamoni's side. I was an ardent writer from very small. When I was a child, I used to write poems. I used to write books. I don't know how many stories, how many poems I've written. I used to just keep on scripting. My mother was very, very, for example, English, my mother was an MA in English. So my mother kind of hand-holded me with the English literature, pre-Victorian literature, post-Victorian literature, things like that. I was exposed to Mr. William Shakespeare very early in my life. Now when I come to think about it, somehow or rather, I ended up getting exposed to a lot of the poems of the poets, the writers about whom Shri Mataji had spoken in her lectures. Somehow, I don't know, probably it's her infinite grace that at that early age, I got exposed to all those realized people. So, and funnily, I never liked, we used to have Panorama as a text, as a poem book. Any of us who are part of the English medium education would know this book, Panorama. Those of us who belong to my generation. So, I was never ever intrigued by poets like Byron or other people, but by Mr. William Wordsworth. It was very intriguing for me. I used to like nature poetry. Then I was exposed to Mr. William Shakespeare very early in my life. She used to read out. My mother had a habit of reading me out stories. So she used to read me out stories. Then Kakamuni comes into the picture and he used to see me, I'm writing this, writing that. He started exposing me to books. He used to give me children books. And then he used to also, he was also instrumental in, giving me, he used to buy me books which spoke about different visionaries and religious visionaries across the world. So obviously, those times in Bengal, the known visionaries were, Ramakrishna Mission was one side, and then the other side was the other, Chaitanya and Mahaprabhu Chaitanya. Obviously, the established gurus at that time. But I remember very clearly it was always now what? It was always now what with me? Now what? Because I remember, now I know what is self-realization. 26 years back when Shrimati gave me my self-realization, I knew what it is. But as a child, I was not aware of it. So it was like, I'm thirsty, I'm drinking a lot of water, but my thirst isn't quenched. तो मतलब क्या है, मतलब ऐसा क्या है मुझे जो समझ में नहीं आ रहा, ऐसा क्या है जो मुझे जानना बाकी है. Obviously, I mean, my mental ability wouldn't allow me to read too many books or things like that because I wouldn't understand them. At my level, children books until 5, 6, there were limited amount of children books. Right now, you have a lot available on the internet. You can have audiobooks, and we never had that. We had printed books and children books. Primarily, they were either story books and Bengali encyclopedias. They were more into the things, or English encyclopedia. Children books were actually limited to storybooks, the Enid Blyton series. I don't know whether kids today would even know about Enid Blyton. Enid Blyton series. Then, when we grew a little, older, Agatha Christie came into the picture. So those side, or apart from that, encyclopedias, 365 things to know, the animal kingdom, the plant kingdom, things like that, space. So we had these encyclopedias, pictorial encyclopedias from which we used to learn. But spiritualism as a whole, there was very limited printed material. So obviously, it's a very funny incident I want to share with you. Now, as obviously my father was a government servant, so his friend circle was very big. So there were a lot of different people who used to come. So there was one gentleman, obviously I will not take his name. One gentleman, for some reason, he used to come. He was a very flamboyant person. Hey, what's up? What are you doing? What's your plan? Those kind of uncles, they'll pipe you up. And there were some who were very serious. Funnily, I never liked him. I don't know why. I never liked him. Down the line, after 6, 7 years, I realized that he was a Rajneesh follower. He was a guy, if he came into the house, his entry into the house was create a scene of like, hey, activity, like, oh, let's go somewhere, let's do this, let's do that. So as a guy, I should read. Honestly, I'll tell you this, he used to irritate me a lot. I don't know, his presence irritated me a lot. And I used to tell my mother, why this man come? I don't like him. So my mother said, don't talk like that. It's your dad's friend. He can come. He can meet your dad. So my mother used to ask me, why don't you like him? Why don't you? Because she was, I was very interactive with my mother. It's not that I was pampered by her. I never got, I can count the number of times I got beaten by my dad. But Aparna, there's not a visible material on earth by which my mother has not hit me. So, but that's how I was brought up. Like she used to, I was very interactive with her. When it came to punishment, there was no mercy. But at the time when I needed explanation, she would like tell me. So she asked me why. I used to always tell her, I don't know why, I just don't like him. I just don't like him. I don't like it. I remember I told my mom once, I don't like his eyes. So mom said, what about his eyes? I said, I don't know, I don't like his eyes. So that's over. So as I grew up, then Kakamuni, my uncle, he started exposing me to Upanishads. That was, I'm talking about class 7, class 8, and he used to bring me these small, uh, because I was not very versatile. Uh, I was not very acquainted with Bengali as a language. It was a part of my language, but I was more proficient in reading, writing, and speaking English. So Kahamani used to bring me these small books of Vedas, the Upanishads, and things like that. So I got exposed to that. I used to discuss with him. And it is that point of time that I came to know about Kundalini. And lo and behold, my first knowledge of Kundalini was absolutely incorrect, wherein I realize now that imagine a child of class 7 or class 8. I am learning about Kundalini, and it is an absolute nonsensical theory. The first theory I learned about Kundalini was it is like a serpent, which is a very powerful serpent inside us, and it's something like you can become a Superman if you can make it move, let alone make it rise. So that kind of intrigued me. It's very obvious. Like we were not the Marvel and DC comic kids. We were Amar Chitra Katha kids. Of course, Amar Chitra Katha was again there. I mean, I had volumes of them. That was one source where I learned Indian mythology, about Indian kings, Indian spirituality. Sant Tukaram ji, Sant Gyaneshwar ji, all were from Amar Chitra Katha. I'm lucky I belong to that generation. So that was my first knowledge, and I somehow felt that one thing I was aware of, something which is complicated is far away from God. Because in this entire journey from starting from Daspe till here, one thing I realized that anything which is complicated is not very near to God. Because one thing I learned at that point of time was God is uh, God is simple. God is a very very simple person. It's very simple. That was I understood. So anything which is complicated. So it was like, and I used to have a discussion with Kakamuni. My Kakamuni said, these are uh, learned rishis. I said, whatever it may be, but sometimes the people who had written about Kundalini and stuff. So I used to say, whatever it may be, but I don't think this person is speaking sense. Then my Kakamani used to strictly tell me, you have you're not well read. Half knowledge is dangerous than no knowledge. He used to tell me things like that. I said, okay, I understand. But I'm not convinced. This is definitely far from the truth. Because this person is not making sense. I don't know why I said this. I don't know. Now I know why I said this. So this journey carried on and on and on. And then my search increased. A lot of other things came in front of me. Tantrism came in front of me. Then I started reading on that. I started meeting people. Then astrology came in front. I started meeting people, understanding. I bought books. And by that time, I'm class 10, 11. I started buying my own books. So I started reading, what is Tantricism? What is that? Then I even went to the extent of understanding to read what is Aghori and these things. And then I realized, I started reading about Buddhism, Jainism. And there was a book I remember where according to that book, Aghori was sourced from Buddhism. There's a very huge aspect of Tantrism which comes from Buddhism and things like that. So wherever I went, there was information, but it was not what I was looking for. There was no dearth of information that I received anywhere and everywhere, but that information was not what I was looking for. And then there was a twist in my life in class 9. towards the end of class 9, my mom expired, which left a huge vacuum. So then class 10, 11, obviously I was on my own. Life was different. Starting from 11th, I started becoming wayward. My direction started changing. By the time I was in my graduation, I was a full-fledged Ratnakar. You know who is Ratnakar, right? I was a full-fledged Ratnakar. So my dad thought I was beyond return. People who knew me, my relatives or my uncles, Kakamani till that time used to keep telling my dad, you should send him abroad. There is something missing about him. Because I know him very well. He's not a kind of guy who would do this. I've seen him as a child. He's not like that. There's something missing, something somewhere. So they used to give their own suggestions, but I was, I was wearing a crown. Here comes Ratnakar. I was wearing a crown. Substance abuse, tobacco, alcohol, everything was there. I remember it was 95, so that time I was into jobs, out of jobs. So with that kind of a frame, when you're a Ratnakar, the last thing that would happen to you is good things, and among the good things, career. I would watch my friends, they had already started working. I was going in of jobs, I was going out of jobs with a bad attitude. So with this, my kind of stupid attitude, employers wouldn't kind of keep me. Or I wouldn't understand the importance of a job. So that's how it was going. It was a very volatile situation. It was the time I had a neighbor. She's a Sahaja Yogi, Sriti auntie. So she's seen me from the childhood. She came in when I was in class 7 or 8. So she saw me from then. So aunties, neighbors, so they know this kid loves. She used to make payash and I used to love her payash, kheer. I used to love her kheer. I used to always say, Auntie, have you made kheer? So I remember it was Janmashtami. So as usual, she said, she called me and said, Janmashtami, I've made kheer. You should come. Incidentally, my sister was there, so she said, bring your niece. She was small, she was a kid. So, kids, they are popular everywhere. So my auntie said, okay, bring your niece. I said, okay, fine, I'll come. So I went there to have kheer, not for Janmashtami. Because Ratnakar has nothing to do with Janmashtami. So I went there for kheer. So auntie just told me that she was actually very scared to talk to me because my conduct was unbearable in those days. So she said like, if you don't mind, can I tell you something? So I said, yes, auntie, please tell me. And I was having my kheer. So she said that I've seen from the childhood, there's something wrong. What is it with you? So I don't know why I said that. Because the kind of person I was, I would ideally tell her that's none of your business. Keep your mouth shut. I told you I was wearing a crown of Ratnakar on my head. So my answer ideally would be, that's none of your business, keep your mouth shut. So, but I said, Kakima, in Bengali we say Kakima, auntie. I said, Kakima, I don't know, but nothing is going right. So, sometimes I feel I should join somewhere. So I said, so I don't know, probably it was Janmashtami or something. I said, you know what, I want to join ISKCON because I can sing a little bit. I understand. Incidentally, my mother had put me into sitar. So I had learned classical music for 12 years, sitar. So I was kind of attached to music, very attached to music. In that entire period, music was very much with me. All sorts of music. It doesn't that I just because I heard classical, I would stick to classical. I would listen to blues, I would listen to hard metal, I would listen to pop, I would listen to jazz, everything. So so I told her, do you have ISKCON's address? I'm not liking, I'd rather go there. Because my idea was ISKCON was, they'll make you dress up like a clown and all you have to do is take a dhol and dance and your life is taken care of and you can move around countries. So I said, fine, and that's a great bargain. Why not? I mean, sulking and decaying in this entire city. I'd rather go out and dance like a clown as long as I can roam around countries. So that's a very serious impression that ISKCON used to give me. And I knew one thing: the food is great. Because I remember we went somewhere where we had to cross an ISKCON ashram. We had a lunch there, and the food was great. So great food. So I can sing, I can roam countries. So that's the best alternative. So Kakima said, "See, I don't know what ISKCON, but I go to a place where it's different." So she was actually scared because she knew I'm a person who can tell her, none of your business, keep quiet. So she said, if you want, I can share some information. So I said that Kakima, by the time I had finished, she was asking me, do you want more? I said, I've already had 3 plates. I'm done. So I said, but I don't know. I kept the kheer down. Kheer was not my priority at that time. So I asked her, Kakima, what is it that you're talking about? So she said, okay, I'll tell you something. We meditate with hands like this, but that is, you have to get, she was talking to me in Bengali. So she said, you have to get your Atma Sakshatkar and everything. So I wasn't understanding that. So I said, so I said, I'll give you a book. I have a book. It's an English book. It's in English, you'll understand. So read that. And up and down, the miracle happened in my life. After 26 years, now I know, like obviously, Elma used to say, like in a lot of her talks, she said, if you want to know about Shri Adi Shakti, read Devi Mahatma, Devi Puran. I have read Devi Puran, so I know who she is. So it's quite obvious that I know right now who she is. But Apanya, I'm telling you frankly, she gave me that book. It was an old English introduction book where it had a bluish tinge, and it had Shrimati's photo. When I took that book and I saw her, I don't know, I knew who she was. And I said, I want to go. Can I go today? She said, no, we have, and that time, I don't know whether you have heard of him, he's expired. Mighty Uncle, BE Block, Salt Lake. The Salt Lake Center used to be there. So she used to go there. So I knew who she was. And I don't know how, I don't know from where, but I just knew. It's my answer. So I said, tomorrow, day after, she said, it happens every Friday. So I said, okay, this Friday. So she said, okay, I'll go and talk to them. See, but still now, I am intrigued. I want to go. But the person who's sitting in front of her is a crowned Ratnakar. So a lot of questions are going through her mind. If I take him there, if he misbehaves, if he insults, then what happens? So she said, okay, let me go and talk to them first. I'll let you know, and then you can come. And I don't know why it was in the month of May, and I think towards the end of May, it was something I don't exactly remember the date. You can just find out. I'll check the calendar. Janmashtami. I still remember it. Nearly 2 weeks later, and I was like impatient. And they were just across the road. So I used to go to the veranda, and every time I used to see her, I used to say, Kakima, when will I go? She said, I've spoken. I'll let you know. I'll let you know. So finally, she said, okay, you come on this Friday at 9 o'clock. I said, so late. So she said, yes, there will be a Havan there. We'll be doing a Havan, so you come after that. So upon I I went there. So Mighty Uncle was sitting there. Dilip Uncle was there. Chaudhary Uncle was there. Gopal was there. So Havan was, obviously auntie was there. Kakima was also there. So I went inside. So obviously there was the smell of that Havan. The Havan had happened. It was kind of smoky. And obviously I saw Shrimati's photograph. I remember I did pranam to her and I sat. So my uncle started telling me about Sahaja Yoga and then she's to Kundalini. I said, I know about Kundalini. So Maiti uncle smiled and said, what do you know? So I said, is it about Kundalini? Because that time I got a little disheartened. I said, no, I've been through this. I've been through this. He said, no, no, no. I said, I know, I have, this is what I have heard. I said, Mighty uncle, that's what Mighty uncle was. Instead of getting into a discussion with me, no, no, you know, so this is wrong. You know, this is the right. He just told me one thing. Whatever you know, erase it from your mind for the next 10 minutes. Forget about everything. Just put your hands and do what I ask you to do. So I sat down. Okay, now I forgot to mention one thing. That Kakima gave me that book, so I came back home. All I heard was Kakima telling me we meditate like this. This is very important. I need to mention this. So I did not receive my self-realization. So I had Srimati's book. I was reading it, Sahaja Yoga, chakras and things like that. So I forgot about everything. I only remembered one thing. I sit in the house. I put my hands like this. I put a candle and I meditate. So I went there. I put on my study table. I put that book. I put a candle. I don't know where to keep my attention, whether it's the Sahastra. I never knew what a Sahastra is. I didn't know anything. I was more acquainted to meditation where you put your attention here. It's more prevalent in Bengal. I mean, this entire, this entire stupidity of focusing on the Agya. So I sat. So I remember my hands like this, and I don't even remember what happened. I'll tell you, Aparna, I very, very clearly remember this. And now, before I say this, I am a person who's supposed to feel scared because I am a guy who used to get scared of horror movies. I used to see a lot of horror movies. And I used to really get scared. And there were a lot of times when me and my friends would go and watch a horror movie, come back, and I would turn on all the lights of the house, and my father would be after me. What are you trying to do at 3 o'clock in the night? All the lights around you are sitting like a ghost. What is wrong with you? I said, no, I used to tell him, no, I'm feeling scared. I can't sleep in my room. So I used to be very, very scared. And suppose, and what happens is every time in the night when you're really scared, and then invariably there will be a sound somewhere. Normally it wouldn't matter to you. That time you would feel that, oh my God, now it's coming after me. So I'm a guy who will be really scared. And that experience should ideally scare me. The experience that I'm going to talk about. So I was sitting like this. Aparna, I clearly remember. This can't be as clear, as crystal clear as this. I felt like somebody came and embraced me tight. And that sense of security. Tremendous amount of security. I just woke up like this. I wasn't scared. I was reassured. So, till the time I was not called, it became a habit. I used to just keep the book and I used to just sit like this. After some time, I never knew what I was doing, but it felt really good. It really felt good. But that was my first interaction with mother. So I went there, so I'm sitting. So my uncle said, whatever I'm going to tell you, just do it. Forget about what you have done. And he asked me twice, have you forgotten? Everything erased from your mind? I said, yes, uncle. He said, I forgive everybody, I forgive myself, I'm not guilty. That's all he asked me to say. So I sat there. I don't remember the time. So then he said, open your eyes. So I opened my eyes. So he said, what did you feel? I said, I didn't feel anything. So Gopal was sitting behind me, Dilip uncle was there, Chaudhary uncle was there. So Gopal said, you didn't feel anything on the head or on the hand. I said, no, I didn't feel. So Mighty uncle said, okay, you didn't feel. That's how Mighty uncle was. Like, you haven't felt, it's fine. You meditate, it'll be fine. Gopal kept on asking me, you didn't feel anything. And I got a little irritated. I said, I didn't feel anything. And until the time you were cleansing, I think you're doing it with Gangajal, you were cleansing the path where the Kundalini rises. That's the only thing I felt. But after that, what you're talking about, I didn't feel anything. So my uncle started laughing. He said, what did you feel? I said, no, because you told me the Kundalini rises. Because my uncle explained to me before. I said, you told me the Kundalini rises and it goes. So naturally, I thought before you start, you're cleaning it with Gangajal. So that I could feel that, you were pouring Gangajal all the way and you were cleaning it. So my uncle started laughing. He said, do something. Go to my room. There's a full length mirror. See if your shirt is wet. So immediately I put my hand at the back because whatever it may be, if it's wet, it's wet. So I said, what was that? Aparna, I actually felt, like it was like water. And it was coming and somebody was pouring water. So that was my first experience. It was then and it's 26 years now. Hushi Mataji has not changed because I know she was when I first saw her. That's the miracle. After that, Ma has blessed with innumerable miracles, which are actually not miracles. That's supposed to be, that's how a yogi's life is. And today I can tell you one thing, I've understood one thing. The crux of the entire matter is, our union with Mother. Sahaja Yoga is, it's like a key. It's a key, and along with that key, if I put it in mundane words, you need a passport, which is self-realization. Sahaja Yoga is a key, and self-realization is a passport. With these two things, you have to open a gate. On the other side of that gate is Mother. You need those two things to cross that gate and get into the realm of Mother. And that is where everything is right there. But that journey, normally what happens is we take a long time to take that journey. With that key and that passport in hand, to reach that gate, we take a long time, sometimes the entire life. And then probably realize, okay, finally we have opened that gate. Because Sahaja is a process. That the real treasure is right there, where the union with Mother, that surrender. That fruit of surrender, when you are surrendered, it's all about the Sri Ganesh Tattva. When you surrender, that innocence makes you surrender. And then, a completely different world opens up. It's different. I mean, it can't be explained. It only can be experienced. And that experience manifests. That's all I have to say.
When I met you, the first encounter of a first Sahaja Yogi I met was you. Like when I was also seeking and I was a counselor in Arena. So one of the students, Priyanka Gua, she gave me a leaflet. She gave me a leaflet and Salt Lake, your number was there. So
Okay.
I since my sister was in Salt Lake, so I came. My parents were alive. I was a new Barakpur then. So I came to your house and you mentioned something that overnight your cigarette smoking was just kind of left you.
Yeah.
Right?
See, I'll tell you exactly what has happened. Overnight, I mean, it was a period of, I think, 3-4 days. Because I was smoking. After that, I was smoking. Because I told my uncle, it's good you took this up. After everything was over, and I said, my uncle, I smoke. So my uncle, it's okay. I used to smoke 7 packets of Charminar Plain. I don't smoke now. It's okay. I also smoked. He said, you just meditate. That's what my uncle was. He never told, no, you shouldn't do this. This is going to destroy this. He just told me one thing, just meditate. Do you want to leave smoking? I said, of course, uncle. I want to leave all the vices. He said, then just meditate and tell Mother you want to leave. So one thing is true, like those many days till the time my smoking was, I actually prayed, Mother, I don't want this. I don't need this. So one day what happened is, where I used to sleep, in the morning people wake up and they stretch their hands and take a yawn. I used to search for my packet. It was always used to be near my pillow. So I used to wake up, take a cigarette around, I would light it up, and that's how my day would start. So I did the same thing. I had a horrible taste in my mouth. So as you know, like that time, we were in and out of jobs. We were not that, you smoke a cigarette, just light it up and you don't like it. So you used to stub it and put it back in the packet. It's a long cigarette, but you waste that money. So I woke up, then I had my tea and I went to the washroom. I lighted the cigarette. Same bad taste. I could not have it. It didn't register in my mind. I had my breakfast. I was going out for work. I take go out of the house. I hit the road. There's a walk of around 5-7 minutes to the bus stop. So I used to light a cigarette there till the bus came. I used to drop that cigarette to get onto the bus. Third time I could not. Fourth in office after lunch I could not. Then I realized there's something wrong. There's something wrong. So I did not, and I did not smoke, and I did not smoke. I did, and I have never spoken. I've never spoken. I've never smoked. So my point is, that's how Kundalini works. That's the entire work of Mother Kundalini. That's Ma, even during self-realizations, he says, like, I respect your independence. You have to desire.
So you must have felt so strange, no? That someone who's a chain smoker is unable to take the taste of smoke, cigarette.
I can't explain to you, Aparna, how horrible it was. It was burning my tongue. It gave me a bitter taste. I mean, cigarette was something like, the first puff would make me like, ah. And here I was, it was like, I can't explain to you, it was like, it's inexplicable. I can't explain, but it was horrible. I mean, it's unbelievably horrible. So that I remember. So then I realized that, yes, I realized the power of pure desire that day. So I called up, I know that time we used to have landlines. So I called up, I think from my office only. No, I came back home, I didn't call. I came back home, I went to my uncle's house. It was around 8:30, 9 o'clock. I said, Uncle, I'll not go inside. I just have one thing to tell you. I said, no, you come in. I said, no, Uncle, I could not smoke and I have not spoken. So he said, congratulations.
That day, the day, that is the day you left and you did not feel like having it another.
Yeah, it never happened.
Very big miracle. This can be one of the very big miracles, especially for people who are addict and who are unable to. But
substance abuse. I mean, I'm not talking about cigarettes. I'm talking about alcohol. Excessive abuse of alcohol. I couldn't swallow. I was an excessive user of alcohol. I just couldn't swallow.
Acha, may I ask you, like, it is substance abuse, alcohol and all, who introduced you to this? College?
My friend circle. Our sense of liberation, our sense of independence. So when kids say, nowadays when I speak to kids, they said like, they say things like, independence and liberation. I tell them, kid, you're not even near the life we have already led. I've seen fast cars, rock music, drugs, alcohol and smoke and everything. I've seen enough of that life. So I know what it is. Obviously, I mean, the biggest change in my life was in later part of class 9 when I lost my mother. That was the biggest death.
That might have triggered, because if someone...
No, that only triggered. That itself triggered. I knew that itself triggered. Probably I was demanding things from life which today I know that it probably is unreasonable or it doesn't work out, but the fact is the fact. I mean, that's what I demanded. And I can tell you, Aparna, I can tell you frankly, anybody, in Sahaja Yoga, whatever be the past, it is basically a journey. It is basically a journey. A lot of times Srimati has said, if you don't face the problems, you will not enjoy the solutions. You will not enjoy the solution. So I'm happy I had a past like that.
Yeah.
Sorry. So I'm happy in the sense. I'm happy in the sense I'm not celebrating my past, but the fact is,
you don't hanker anymore.
Yeah, it was this transition. This transition actually it helped me. That transition helped me, and probably I could understand the differences. Probably that kind of drastic manifestations was required for me personally, for me to understand divinity.
So a horror movie kind of a thing, you have placed Srimataji's picture in front of you. Someone embraced you from the front or back? front.
No, I can't tell you, but it was something like, I mean, you are sorted, you are secured. It was something of, we say like Achal se,
Yeah.
ghed diya. It was something like
It
that.
was like
Which
welcoming you.
it was like absolutely. I remember it was like an Achal, and probably in that point of time, I think I got back what I lost when my mother expired. That is exactly what I got back, and that is what intrigued me.
Hmm.
I desperately need this. And poor Kakima, obviously she's seen too much of the Ratnakar in me. So it was difficult for her to believe that this guy can become a Balmiki. So
So
she thought that
in
if I
class
keep this
fourth,
Ratnakar,
in
hmm,
class fourth, you were like 8, 9 years old.
yeah.
At that point of time only you were exposed to all this. I got exposed to the Spec series, what you're talking about, even I had those. But that was
Oh
after
yeah, you read
college.
that.
Yeah, I've
Okay.
read,
Yeah.
I've read. But that was after college. You
No,
have
no,
been
I got
exposed to it. How would you understand? This means you were
it.
from childhood, you were very deep into this. Your mahol was like
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
People discussed
Because
all
I've
that.
seen her, like, even I've seen her going to mosques with the same, that same passion for divinity. I used to see her going to St. James Church. I used to see her going to gurudwaras. She was very passionate about
You
gurudwaras.
used to go with her.
Yeah, yeah. I was always with my mom, and she used to explain to me like why is she putting a chadar. She taught me like when you enter a gurudwara, you should wash your feet. What is the essence of that, and this and that. And in that entire journey, she had her share of false gurus, which she exposed me as well. So he speaks this, he speaks that. That is a different matter. That my belief was not her belief. For me, it was like one by one, I was just crossing. It was like a mall to me.
Browsing.
I, I was doing window shopping. I didn't like the products. And I was going to the next shop. And then when finally one day I knew like, but then I realized that I'm actually searching for my home. And the day when I had that book in my hand, I have reached home. I don't need anything else. I know who she is. I still cannot explain what it is, but I don't know. It's difficult to believe Aparna. I mean, what can I say? But nothing has changed in this 26 years. What I thought about mother then, what I knew who she was, I know Ma who she is now. After Devi Mahatma, after all majority of her lectures, after 26 years of meditation, 26 years of spreading Sahaja Yoga, 26 years of experiencing unbelievable miracles, that is something that has been constant. I knew who she was and I know who she is. That has not changed. That is probably the biggest miracle in my life.
Have you
And I would be
did you
always
meet her
thankful.
ever? Have you ever been to her puja? Any sakshatkar?
Oh, yes, yes. I've been at her Holy Lotus feet as well.
Oh wow.
And there's a huge joke in Yuva Shakti's. What happened is it was in Ganpati Pule and we had made this Shri Ganesha on the mat. So Ma asked like, how did you do this? She said, I'll keep it at my ashram. This is really good. So I was explaining to Ma, this is how we, and she, first of all, Aparna, it's not easy sitting at a lotus feet. Trust me. It's way better sitting in the 20th row or the 50th row or the 100th row. Trust me, it's not easy. It's not easy. I mean, it's absolutely. I can't explain. Like,
Full
it's
of
not easy.
vibrations.
I don't know whether it's vibrations, whether it's awe. It's definitely awe, obviously, but I can't explain. I mean, it's impossible to explain. But you, it's difficult. When it's something like you don't want to leave that place, but you kind of like when I was sitting there, I was like, I just wouldn't want to move. But it's From our childhood, we've heard, like, there is a God who can take care of everything. You can just do this and everything changes. And you can
So
understand.
you spoke with her also, that means.
And so, Ma just casually said, I mean, I have to quote her. She said, the eyes are so realistic, yeah. This is exactly the words she used. She looked at the Sri Ganesha image and she said, she looked at me and she said, the eyes are so realistic, yeah. And my response to her, I mean, it's a joke among the Yuva Shaktis, they still tease me. I said, yes, ma'am.
You had made
And
that. You
yeah,
had made
I just said, yes, ma'am. And then a lot of other things came, and I was telling, then I was saying, Ma, this is this, Ma, this is that. So then went off. In many instances, there were a lot of, I mean, innumerable times things have happened. And pure desire and compassion are the things that, Ma, like, if these are the two things we have, then we are closest to her. Indiscriminate compassion and pure desire. She, like, her love is infinite. When we have those two,
we
her
can.
love is infinite. You can feel her love is infinite. We will not be able to. Her love is always infinite because in Devi Puran she said, even the Rakshasas come from me. The catches, the negativities, the gods, the humans, insects, animals, everything is from me. There is nothing in this entire creation that has not come from me. So her compassion is for everybody. But the question is whether we receive it or not. Like there is the signal. Why I have to have the tower to receive it. That tower consists of basically two things: indiscriminate compassion, and that compassion is, the compassion in nirvichar, where you are not conscious that you are compassionate. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. One is we realize that we are compassionate when you are not conscious. Because she says, Ma has said that when you receive your self realization, your spirit becomes part of the conscious mind. So this mind is what thinks what the spirit thinks. There's Parampita Parameshwar, two sides of his power comes into us when we are fetus. That is in the 2 to 4 weeks when the power comes in. It gets divided into two aspects. One is the male power, one is the female power. The female power is the Kundalini, the male power is the spirit. And that is where we get the identity. And that spirit becomes the conscious mind. And Kundalini is like a central database. If we talk in modern terms, it's like a central database. It has everything. It's a central database with the best intelligence in this entire creation. So it knows your past, it knows your future, it knows what you're aspiring. It has a complete SWOT. It knows your strength, it knows your weaknesses, it knows what opportunities are there for you. It knows your threats, what are your threats, it knows what are the solutions. It knows what are the weapons you need, what are the qualities you need. So when Kundalini manifests, the solutions are communicated to the spirit. And after self-realization, when the spirit becomes your conscious mind, that is when a Sahaja Yogi becomes solution personified. And there is a solution for everything. At least in this lifetime, I have understood one thing: there is nothing, not everything may be a part of Sahaja Yoga, but Sahaja Yoga is a part of everything. There is every solution everywhere. Like a lot of times we have this misnomer that, ठीक है मेडिटेशन है लेकिन काम धंधा भी करना है पढ़ाई भी करनी है. This is the biggest misconception that we have. I have a professional experience of 30 years. I have been without Sahaja Yoga for 4 years in my life, in my professional experience. The rest 26 years has been with Sahaja Yoga. the biggest of, at any level. Now I'm in a different level, obviously. I'm talking from my start to the level that I'm in by Shrimati's grace. You talk about leadership, you talk about decision making, you talk about strategy formulation, you talk about real time control, you talk about prioritization, you talk about quality control, you talk about compliance, you talk about business continuity, you talk about anything. It's all Sahaja Yoga. If you are a student, you're talking about any subjects, you talk about your understanding, conceiving that subject matter, understanding what it is, giving it the right output, getting a good result. It's absolutely Sahaja Yoga. If you are a housewife, a toughest job, a job which is tougher than an MNC leader's job, or probably the president of a country is tougher than that. A housewife, it's absolutely Sahaja Yoga.
Oh my God!
Starting
This particular topic which you just said, this though we will have a different interview on which you will speak. How you feel that a housewife's job is greater and more difficult than the president's job?
Obviously, because you need to understand something, a housewife, that's the perfect example of actually what management is. Absolute management is where, that's an absolute rubbish. I mean, how can you define leadership into a particular category? A leader can be a server, a leader can be a leader can be an executive, a leader can be a catalyst, a leader can be an HR, a leader can be a team player, a leader can be silent, a leader can be vocal, a leader can be anything. So a housewife is a perfect description of a leader. She gets up in the morning and she goes to sleep in the night and everything works like clockwork. And I'm talking about a housewife. We need to understand here. Like recently, in one of our interviews with somebody from the US press, Devarati was giving their interview on women empowerment. She said, "Who are you trying to empower? You are trying to empower something who's already empowered. What you need to do is realize it. What is important is the definition of a woman. Liberation is the most nonsensical thing because women are obviously liberated. The fact that you are born as a woman means you are liberated. The fact that you are born as a woman that means you are empowered. The fact that you are born as a woman, it means you are more powerful. You are a superior species. The question is, the journey is about realizing that. That's what she mentioned, something like that. So that's what I'm saying. I'm talking about a housewife. Yeah, there are people who are, running huge businesses. Oh, housewife is taking care of the cooking and the servants and the thing. It is, people don't realize that a man sitting in a workplace taking a decision gets the accolades. But the fact is that mental framework that manifests that decision comes from the ambience in which that man spends. Because it is home where a man's psyche is completely exposed. He doesn't tie laces. If I am at my home, I just let go. And when I let go, I am completely exposed. I'm completely exposed. And not only am I exposing myself, I'm being exposed to an environment. So in that point of time, I am in a position where I'm just taking in things without filter. When I'm in office, when I'm speaking to a client, when I'm speaking to my team, when I'm taking decisions, I have filtered myself in a position in a place where I have put myself in a frame where I need to do certain things, think in certain ways and express myself in certain things, in certain ways. But when I am at home, I am home. I can be a billionaire, but at home probably I'm sitting with a torn Bermuda watching TV with one of my legs on the head of the sofa. Because I don't have to prove anything. So all the decisions that happen in the boardroom, It is a manifestation of that what that man is exposed to. I mean, we've read this enough. Behind every successful man, there is a woman, and there are jokes about this. There are many memes about this. Then previously, people would debate and discuss and things like that. But things have been told just not like that. There have been meanings. So it's the most difficult job. I mean, can you imagine the perfect role play? The role of an administrator, the role of a mother, role of a see. Let's forget relationships. The role of a mentor, the role of a colleague, the role of a support system, the role of quality control, the role of an HR. Okay, fine. Corporate work is what are you doing? Okay, you are just a housewife. We do a lot of hard work. Oh, really? Really? It first starts with administration. Then HR comes in. Then quality comes in. Compliance comes in. Strategic decision making comes in. A split second decision. No, this will not be cooked, that will be cooked. It's really simple. What you do, you just decide dishes. Really.
And whatever she does, it's something she does with love. Whereas in the office, people are doing out of obligation.
Just for the greed of reward.
Yeah, for out of obligation. Otherwise, नौकरी चली जाएगी अगर नहीं किया तो. So that is why the perfection comes in.
The perfect model of a startup, the perfect model of a complete.
Mr. Sanyal, it was a very beautiful journey that you had, and we will continue taking more interviews because you have so much to share with us. So before we part, anything that you would like to tell the seekers of truth?
Well, I honestly don't know anything, but what I can share is my own experience, my own journey of ascent. Rules. Don't take divinity for granted. Spiritualism is it's not something that you get rewarded with. The more deep you dive in, the more experience you get. It does not come just like that. I can tell you one thing. I told you a million times, I think. Forget everything. Just the Muladhara Chakra. The whole treasure lies there. The whole treasure of spirituality. The whole treasure, the whole world of Mother lies there. It doesn't matter if the entire life is spent on meditating on that. You get the entire, the realm of spiritualism just with that. That's all I have to say. I mean, I can only say what I feel, what I practice. And Sahaja Yoga is not knowledge. It's not knowledge.
It is experience.
It's a process, it's an experience, it's actualization. It's actualization. I can say, I go so deep. If I go so deep, I can feel that depth. It's as simple as that. There is no web of words in this. It's very black, it's very white.
Okay, Mr. Sanyal, today's interview, we will end it here. It was very nice talking to you, and thank you for sharing your experience with us. Jai Shri Mataji, we'll meet you more. Jai Shri Mataji.